This is a summary of the speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1992 in Parshat Vayakel. Now, the Rebbe had a stroke in the second Adar, almost a month after this was said. The year that the Rebbe said that, no, 1 second. No, 1 second. 1 minute. Yeah, here it goes. The year that the Rebbe said that was a double udder, two udders. Two udders. It was a 13-month year called the Shana Mu'uberet. Okay, this is a speech, a part of the speech which was given by the Rebbe in Parshas Vayakel. I searched for this and I was not able to find it. I'll search again tonight. I searched for about half an hour. I couldn't find it. But anyway, this is a summary of that speech. Now, this year when the Rebbe spoke, this speech, Yakel Pekude, came before Purim. It came before Purim. By us now, this week's Torah portion is after Purim. But when the Rebbe spoke, because there was an extra month, so this comes after Purim. Okay. And so when the Rebbe spoke, but this year it's after Purim. By the Rebbe, it was before Purim. So, but the messages of the Torah are eternal. So let's go. B'kaviyut kama v'kama shanim, many years, v'yakel pekudim, they're joined. This year we're also joined. It's also joined this year by us. B'kaviyut shanazen, this year is that the parshas v'yakel pekudim, they are separate. Right? By us this year it's not separate. Here in Israel now it's separate. When the Rebbe was speaking in that year, they were separate because there was 13 months of that year. So that meant that there was 4 extra Shabbos, so they had to spread out. A lot of the, sometimes Torah portions are read together. It was determined by the rabbis long ago. Okay, but nevertheless, by us, Vayakel. What's Vayakel? It says that Moses gathered all the Jewish people together. He told them about Shabbat, and then the Jewish people started bringing their donations to the tabernacle. Klolos avodas Adam. The service of man is, like the rabbi said, Ani nivreti, I was created, l'shamesh et koni. It's in the Mishnah in Kedushin. I was created to serve God. I was served. And it's not just I was created, the day I was born, that's also true, but every moment. So the reason that we're here is in order to serve God, or in simple Hebrew, to improve the world. I know, as we've said in this class, I mean, innumerable times, this world is tremendously important to God. Before this world was created, there was nothing. There was no spirit. There was no anything. This world is it. There was no time. When God created this world, he created time. He created existence. He created consciousness. He created spirit. He created, when he created this world. So this world is tremendously, tremendously important to God. How that is so is a big mystery, which I don't understand myself, which is it's a sign of how mysterious it is. But the biggest tzaddikim it's nothing you can't understand. It's only faith. But nevertheless, that faith is Jewish faith, that God creates the world constantly, and every detail of the world is tremendously important to God. And one unique creation that God made in this world is the Jews. And the Jews were chosen to tell everyone in the world what I'm just telling you now, that God loves you and he's creating you and you're very important. That's serving God. I was created only to serve my creator. Well, the point to bring about that everything in the world should also serve the Creator. We're here to tell and how do you serve the Creator? How does a non-Jew serve the Creator? By being honest, by being caring, by being generous, by being brave, right? By believing in God, loving your fellow man, doing normal things. You don't have to do all these crazy things that the Jews do. You put boxes on your arms and you have strings on your garments. That's only the Jews have that stuff. Non-Jews are not even supposed to keep Shabbat. Non-Jews are not allowed to keep Shabbat. Non-Jews are supposed to make the world a good place constantly. That's their job, not the rest. So that's the job. What Jewish people were chosen to serve God, and we're supposed to bring the whole world to serve God. But Bezeh Gufa, in this, there are two ways of serving God, and they are hinted at in these two Torah portions, Vayakel Pekude. As I said before, here in Israel, when the Rebbe was speaking, they were separate. But by us here in Israel, they're joined, so it's important to us. Vayakel means that Moses gathered the Jewish people. Shemagaleh, that you can reveal in everything in the world, the general service of God, namely to serve God, a general way. My attitude. A person wakes up in the morning, a non-Jew, wakes up in the morning, and the first thing he says in the morning is, thankful God, I am grateful to you, God, a living God, that you have given me back my soul, and your faith in me is great. General attitude. I'm grateful to you, God. How can I repay you? Every single instant that I'm alive is an amazing gift. And not only is it a gift, but it's an amazing responsibility. Every human being in the world should be saying this. I love you, God. You love me even more. You brought me back to life. You gave me responsibility. I'm important to you. May I serve you all day. And as I said before, serving God does not mean you have to do any special rituals or invent some sort of religions. In fact, non-Jews are not supposed to invent religions. They're just supposed to give thanks to God in everything they do. You're a mechanic, be an honest mechanic, be a good mechanic. You're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a comedian. Whatever you do, there's certain things I don't know if it's going to be permissible to do. I don't know. I think boxing might be out. Boxing might be out. Even though it's not a nice thing to say, but I enjoy boxing, watching boxing. My father used to be a boxer. Anyway, I think that you can't beat people's heads in. I don't, you have to ask bigger rabbis than me. But in any case, whatever you do, let's say maybe even boxing, but it could be. Whatever you do, even such an ungodly thing like boxing, if you do it, you have to do it the way that God says. Maybe you have to put extra guards on or remember something like that. I don't know. By means of this poil achdut, you can make unity in everything in the world. You're an honest businessman. Like in America, every coin is written in God we trust. Every coin. Therefore, if you live anywhere in the world, you should look at the coin, money you have in your pocket, and think, I trust in God. I'm not going to steal. I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to lie. If I did steal, I'll give the money back. And God will provide for me. God is doing a good job providing for all these blades of grass and trees and things like these. He's providing for them. Right? But God wants us to work. God does not want us to be freeloaders. He wants partners. That's what the Jewish people are here to tell the whole world, serve God. But Allah has come so much more so. The Jewish people, that by means of loving every Jew and unifying with every other Jew. How can you unify with every other Jew? There's a lot of Jews that are very nasty people. I mean, I happen to be a Jewish person. I have to use all of my efforts not to be a nasty person. That's it. Everybody, Jews especially, have big urges to do the opposite of what God wants. That's the whole story of the Bible, right? But nevertheless, the fact is that they are Jews and that God chose us, and he chose us for this purpose. So inside of us, we truly have tremendous battles, but we have the ability to overcome these battles, and we're chosen by God to overcome these internal battles, and it seems also eternal battles. And so therefore, there's some good redeeming factor in every single Jew, and you can even find it in every single person. I'm sure there's exceptions to this, but we're not looking for them. There are rabbis who are really good at finding something bad in everything. If they don't find anything bad in everything, they invent something. But you're not supposed to do that. So that's vayakel. Vayakel means one gathering, everyone together. The common feature which is found in all of the Jews and all humanity is serving God. That's vayakel. Then there's pekude. Pekude means making a counting. Everyone is different. After you have this general attitude that you want to serve God in everything you do, then there's revealed in every single detail the unique novelty and the unique ability and potential which is in everything individually to serve God. One person is a singer, one person is honest, one person says good morning to other people, one person says a good word, one person doesn't get angry, one person doesn't cheat. In every little detail, there's some way that you can serve God better. That's the novelty in this Shabbat when we read Vayakel individually and we read Pekude individually. That's the way it was by the Rebbe, right? By us that read together. Then in this is stressed that there is a completion in serving God, each one individually, that it's revealed the unity, the general unity of the creation and of the Jewish people, general and individual. Lochein, therefore, ein tzorech, it's not necessary to wait until we reveal every detail. So the Rebbe says, if these two Torah portions are read together, then that stresses the importance of doing both services. But if the Torah portions are read separately, like it was in the year that the Rebbe was speaking, so it comes to show us that maybe even just one of them is sufficient. Maybe just having a general attitude constantly that I want to serve God, maybe that's enough. Maybe you don't have to deal with the details. The details will come on their own. Maybe, could be. The Rebbe said, not only could be, there is such a thing. It's hinting at us that if you have the proper attitude, then God will provide you the opportunities. He'll provide you everything. You don't have to deal with the details. God will deal with the details. Okay, let's see. But our year, it's not that way. Our year, they're both together. Yesh l'kasher, that we can attach this with also Parshat Shkalim that we read today. Now, Parshat Shkalim is the Torah portion which is read in the beginning of the month of Adar. This is the beginning of the month of Adar. And it's read in the beginning of the month of, here we go, of Adar, the Adar Aleph, at the end of the first Adar. When the Rebbe was reading this, there were 2 months of Adar. Like I said, it was a 13-month year. It was an additional month. The month that's added on is the month of Adar. So all the things which we read now in Adar, and we finish all the things of Adar, so those things are relevant to the second Adar when the Rebbe is reading. So therefore, this was the last week, the last Shabbat in the first Adar, so they read Shkalim. Shkalim reminded us that every year at the beginning of the month of Adar, everyone would have to give a shekel, a half of a shekel to the temple. Shkalim. They would be reminded to give a half of a shekel to the. And this has a very special meaning to us, this idea of the half shekel. We'll see. First of all, that's what we read last week in last week's Torah portion about this half shekel you have to give. Yesh l'kasher, we can attach this with shkalim, which we read today. Shkalim. So it's always known the question, what is it? Every Jew had to bring 1/2 of a shekel to the temple. 1/2 a shekel. That's all they had to bring. And the Torah says, how much was a shekel? A shekel, 1 full shekel, was 20 gera. 20 gera. Let's say 20 cents, okay, $20. $20 is 1 gera. That's the unit of money. 20 gera is 1 shekel. And all you have to bring to the Holy Temple is a half. So it's well known the question, okay, why does the Torah tell us that one full shekel was 20? But you don't have to bring that. All you have to bring is 10. Why tell us that the full one is 20? Just say, bring 10. 10 gera. It should have just said, bring 10 gera. Right? Bring a half of a shekel. A half a shekel is 10 gera. What do you have to tell us that a full shekel is 20? Obviously, if a half of a shekel is 10 gera, so a full one is 20. Why does it have the Torah has to tell us that you have to give one half of 20? So the explanation is like this. A half of a shekel indicates on a service of unity of the Jewish people. Why? Therefore, it is stressing Shekasher Yehudi Nimsa, when a Jew is found on his own, therefore you are only a half. You're not complete. Because in order that a Jew can be complete, a lovely tacher, he has to unify with another Jew. Every Jew is bringing one half. In order to have one full unit, you have to have two Jews. Until finally you become, if unifying with one Jew is good, how much more so if you unify with every Jew? No matter how great you are, no matter how wonderful you are, if you are Moses, if you are King David, you're the Lubavitcher Rebbe, you're the biggest tzaddik you could possibly imagine. Nevertheless, on your own, you're only half at best. That's the whole idea of the commandment, loving your brother as yourself. Rabbi Akiva said that that's the whole Torah, and the rest of the Torah is just an explanation of how to do this. You have to love your neighbor. Re'acha means lo rak Yehudi, not just a Jew that's close to you, but a Jew which you found on the other end of the world is also your friend. Re'acha, a person you don't even know. And the reason for this is, you should know that there's some people that don't say that. There's some people that say you should love your neighbor like yourself. You should love your neighbor if he's like yourself. If he's like you have to love him. But if not, you don't. We don't explain that. We don't take that explanation. We say you have to love every Jew, even if you don't know who he is. Like the first Rebbe of Chabad says in the Tanya, that every single one of the Jews, every Jewish person has a portion of God inside of him, her. If you hate another Jew, you hate God. Haria etzem, a portion, kashera totavis miktsasa, if you take a little bit of it, you take the whole thing. If so, Hari, Kol Ben Israel, all the Jewish people, they are one unit. If so, all the Jewish people are like one unit. Afilu, even b'mikra, in such a situation, sheyesh li shalol, that you can, in order to love another person, you have to ignore by your friend a thing which is bad. Hari, behold, atzura hachi ya'il, lif'olzo is by means of shemashpia Allah b'darki noam b'darki shalom. You meet another Jew that's really a destructive person. There's a lot of examples in the history of Judaism. I mean, just one most recently, in Russia, communist Russia, there were a group which was called the Yevsektia. And the Yevsektia were Jews that hated Jews. Especially they hated Judaism. They hated Judaism. And they were the ones that closed down synagogues, and they closed down places of learning, and they arrested people, and they killed people. They killed a lot of Jews. And they were the ones that arrested the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe because he was spreading Judaism. And they were the ones that wanted to kill him. It just was given over to the government, so it was out of their hands. And because of that, the Rebbe got out. But these were murderous, murderous Jews. What can we say? The lowest of the lowest. Killing people was no big deal to them. Maybe we can even say it was a good thing. The joy killing. There's, unfortunately, I don't want to bring other examples, but there's a lot of examples. They say that in the crime world, in the days of the prohibition, when there were the different mafias, so they say the worst of all of them was this Jewish gang called the Purple Gang. They were the cruelest of all. They just took money from just totally hardworking, innocent, people. They would kill them. Incredible. Nevertheless, even a Jew like this, you have to try to find something good in it. A Jew like this has a little portion of God inside him. If not nothing else, then to have mercy on him. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be punished. In Judaism, there's a death penalty. There's death penalty. The death penalty has not been used in effect for like over 2,000 years. And even when it was in effect, it was almost impossible to apply. There were so many stipulations, but nevertheless, there is a death penalty. Sometimes Jews, they lose it. The only way to fix them up is, don't do this now. You can't do it now. Even if you lived 2,000 years ago, you couldn't do it. And even before that, it was almost never done. But the fact of the matter is that but that's because the Torah says, not because you say. So you have to find something good, and there is something good, redeeming in every Jew. And it could be very, very deeply, deeply, deeply hidden. Behold, in order to bring about this, the yakel in the world and in the Jewish people, first of all, we have to begin with between you and God. If you're separate from God, you got no reason. There's no, motivation for trying to find something good in some terrible, murderous, thieving, destructive Jew. This is one of the explanations. What it says, 20 gera is a shekel, a half of a shekel truma l'Hashem. That's another reason why it says that you have to give a half of a shekel, which is 10 gera, but it reminds us a full gera is 20. One meaning we just said is to know that you are only half, and you need another Jew. You have to link up with another Jew in order to be. And the Rebbe said, who is that other Jew? Every other Jew. There's another meaning also, that in order to really do this, to try to find the good in every other Jew, and to appreciate it, to even love it, is you have to be unified with God. And that's another meaning of the 10, that you give 10, and you have to link up with the other 10. The other 10 is God's. Each one of the Jewish people has to unify themselves with God, but totally, until they are totally one. Now, again, what does it mean to be totally one with God? It doesn't mean that you just sit on a rock all day and your eyeballs go into your head and you just sit there all the time. Oh, he's one with the Lord. That's not one with God. That's called turning yourself off. Being one with God means turning yourself on. All of the abilities that you have, thought, speech, action, your potential has to be activated. That's what means being one with God, but it has to be activated according to the way the Torah says. So if you're an expert pianist, you don't appear on Shabbat. Right? Etc. You do what it says according to the Torah. And therefore, each and every Jew is only a half, and God is the other half. And therefore, God, Shinit Labish, has what's called 10 sfirot. The way that God interacts with the world is called God's 10 sfirot, 10 spheres. That's why there's 10 utterances that God created the world with. That's also why there's 10 commandments, the number 10. Hu kamo eser gera. This is like God's half. And each and every Jew, also they have the other half. But by means of unifying them together, the Jewish people with God, that makes 20. And that becomes what's called a holy shekel. So there's two explanations of what it means that we're a half. We're a half, each Jew is half, and every other Jew is the other half. Or we're a half, and God is the other half. And both of them are together, because you can't unify with every other Jew until you unify with God. Will be or any explanation. Dvar, shown the first thing that a Jew does when he wakes up in the morning When he wakes up from his sleep, and the Rebbe said that every human being should do this. The Rebbe wanted it to be in every school, every public school. It says, Omer, you should say, Mode Ani, I am grateful to you, God. The fact that I'm alive is a gift. Can't take it for granted. You gave me this gift, God. You brought me to life. Shazeh, more, this indicates and the unification with God totally. That is the general service of a Jew. As Kafishahu, Lifnei, this is how a Jew is before and above any details. He wakes up in the morning and says, the fact that I'm alive, this is a gift from God. From the fact that I'm alive comes out all the other things. I can talk, I can think, I can move, I can interact with people. This is like the general service of a vayakel, general, joining together. But that's when you wake up in the morning, the first thing. That's what it means. It says, Modeh ani lefanecha, grateful am I before you. That you begin, first of all, saying grateful. And then after you comes the I. And then it's before you. The first thing that you wake up in the morning, you say, the fact I woke up is a miracle. But you don't say it like that. You say, miracle am I before you. The Kivin says that every single Jewish person is unified totally. I am before you with God. So therefore, it's an obvious thing. And you don't have to even stress this. The first thing you have to do is modeh, surrender. That I'm a Jew and then I'm unified with you, that's in my, subconsciousness, my unconsciousness, my pre-consciousness, my soul, that's obvious. But now we have to bring that in to be revealed. What's the first thing I say? Gratitude. Grateful. That's the first thing. All this that I'm a Jew, etc., that was there when I was asleep. As soon as I wake up, so now I'm a me. I'm somebody separate. I'm a separate being. I'm here. Says, no, it's not so. Gratitude is here. The first thing is gratitude. Yesh lo see if we can say that miyad, immediately when a person wakes up from his sleep, including also what the Maimonides says, people that are asleep. He talks about when the Rambam talks about the sounding of the shofar. So he says the shofar wakes us up from the meaninglessness of the world. There are people that are asleep in the emptiness of the world. Lo aleinu. May it not be so, may it not be so. That you have to wake up from the sleep. But Techilat Avodah, the beginning of services, that a person should know that he is one with the essence of God. That every Jew should know that he is a portion of the essence of God, really. You are partners with the Creator. You're not alone. You're not alone. If you're alone, so the world is very, very big and very, very threatening, and you have to make your place in the world. You're going to get them before you get me. Dog eat dog. But if you're with God, so God is bigger than the world. God put us in this world and made us very small in the world. The reason he did it is so that we should attach ourselves to the Creator and show the whole world that there's a Creator that's bigger and more real and more kind and friendly than the world can ever be. You won $20 million in the $20 billion in the jackpot. That's a good thing. But the fact that you woke up in the morning is much, 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 much better and more valuable. And God gave that to you. So therefore, the first thing when you wake up in the morning is you say, gratitude. It's your world, God, is not my world. That's the general attitude that every Jew should have, and eventually everyone in the world will have. Call on now, everything we said before, especially stressed when you see the last years how Vayakel how the Jewish people have been gathered from the whole world. And Jewish people are going to the land of Israel. Now, here's an interesting thing with Chabad's attitude toward Israel. There's probably no movement in Judaism which is more opposed to Zionism than Chabad. Chabad is fire against Zionism, but Chabad is not in any way against the Zionists. The Zionists are Jews. And if we can say anything that's bad about Zionism, that it's bad for the Zionists. Zionism comes and teaches us that nothing is holy. Nothing is holy. The Torah is not holy. The commandments are not holy. The land of Israel is not holy. The Jewish people are not holy. No such thing as holy. We're people like everybody else. The Torah is a book like every other book. The commandments are rituals like every other rituals. You want to do it, don't do it. Right? That's the opposite of what's true. There's no God. God doesn't care. It's an opiate of the masses, whatever they think. All these ideas, which were the basis of Zionism, are false. They're big lies. But strangely enough, we see that the Zionists had this big infatuation with the land of Israel. With the land of Israel, right? When it was even suggested that maybe we should go to Uganda. That's what the Herzl wanted. Or maybe you should go, they had another thing that they wanted to go to, what was it, in Argentina or something like that. Anyway, there are these alternate ideas. They said, no way. We're going to land of Israel, right? And these were totally anti-religious, anti-Jewish Jews. And nevertheless, they had this tremendous infatuation with the land of Israel, totally not logical. Makes no understanding. It's not understandable, right? Why? Because the fact of the matter is, no matter what you say about it, the land of Israel is holy, and the Torah is holy, and the Jewish people are holy, and the commandments are holy, and that's what links them all together. So we see the Jews mysteriously are coming to the land of Israel. Now, if there's a place in the world that's more unfriendly to Jews, it's Israel. There's no place in the world where they shoot rockets at you. They shoot rockets at Jews in New York. They shoot rockets at Jews, even in Germany. They shoot rockets. Where do they shoot rockets at Jews? Nowhere. Even the Jews that used to live in Iran and Iraq and all these places, they didn't shoot rockets at them. Right? Once in a while, in Russia, there would be a pogrom once in a while. Who'll kill people. Right? Here they're shooting rockets at us. Just 2 years ago, they shot 30,000 missiles, 33 with 4 zeros after it, 30,000, 30,000 missiles of various types. The smallest of them had, let's say, the power of 20 hand grenades, right? There was handmade stuff that they did and provided by them. You can make it in your home. 30,000 they shot. And almost nothing happened in Israel, almost nothing. But they shot 30,000 missiles. Now you want to come to a place which is not safe for the Jews. Here in Kfar Chabad, I just read, when was it somebody said? That in Kfar Chabad, we had like more sirens. They're shooting now missiles. What was it? What did they say? 30,000 missiles? How much was it? Well, give me a second. Give me a minute. My son just said, oh, there's a, here, 67. I don't know which was, if it's not, there's a place that received more. Got 67 air raid sirens. Everybody to run down to their to their place, to their whatever it is, to the bomb shelters. As I said in the beginning of the class, I don't go down to the bomb shelters. I don't go. The Rebbe said Israel is the safest place in the world for a Jew, and Kfar Chabad is the safest place in Israel. So even if you're not in Kfar Chabad, right, it's a call all this with, especially in the last years, we see how that Jews are coming to the land of Israel. That this coming is incomparable to how it was in the previous generations. Now, the Rebbe said this is already, 34 years ago. For instance, the Rebbes of Chabad didn't go to the land of Israel. They didn't even go for a visit. And the fact that the previous Rebbe did come to the land of Israel, he was here for like about 2-3 weeks. This is only because he didn't want to come to Israel. He wanted to come to the graves of the tzaddikim to pray over here at the grave of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob at the grave of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He wanted to go to the graves of the Rebbes of Chabad, but they wouldn't let him go. They wouldn't let him back into Russia. So therefore, they didn't go. Said the Rebbe, we see though that now the Jews are running to the land of Israel, especially in Tafshin Nun Aleph, that the population is. So we see that big miracles are coming. What can we learn from this and what we're supposed to do? Haro Lamaisa, actually in Parsha Shkalim, we have to add giving charity. That because charity has a lot of different levels. You can give a tenth, you can give a fifth, you can give everything that you have to save your own soul. And you can decide, even on this Shabbat, charity helps. And if a person did big sins, you can give a lot of charity, more than a tenth, more than a fifth. And also to begin by giving food and drink and etc. in a way that you give, like Parshat Shkalim, to people who need it. They used to give half of a shekel. Was it for the communal offerings? So the first Rebbe of Chabad said, Adam ki yakriv mikem korban lashem, a person when he made a sacrifice, and a sacrifice had to come from you, it couldn't be stolen. But it could have said, Adam mikem, a person of you when he gives a sacrifice. What does it say? Adam yakriv mikem. It means you have to sacrifice from yourself. That if a person wants to be close to God, and the word for sacrifice in Hebrew is the same word for coming close, korev. You want to come close to God. You want to give all what you are, your whole being to God, like your Modeh in the morning. From this, it's understood that what do we have to do? Actually, give charity. Give charity, do acts of kindness, help others. It has to be in a way that you put all of your being into it. In addition to doing action, you also have to think and also speak properly. Think good thoughts about other people, say good words to other people, and by means of this, you speed up the redemption that it should come immediately. Then God will he'll do charity, he'll gather all the Jewish people together. Kahal vayakhel, it says, God will gather the people, all the Jewish people will come to Israel, which that's only going to happen when Moshiach comes, but Moshiach should come any minute now. That is a short version of this week's Torah portion, which I forgot that we were going to finish last week's Kitisa, which that we'll do tomorrow.